Good evening, guys. Dobry wieczór, as we say. Well, I've said in previous videos that I wanted to be a little bit more sociable and meet some more people. And I was starting to get a bit of cabin fever, get a little bit tired of being alone for 5 days without a soul to speak to. It gets a little bit tough for any man. But I got myself into a bit of a funny situation before, which I thought was worth recording. Some people pitched up the tent about 20 metres away from me, and I thought earlier on, it was about 6 o'clock, I'd go for a sleep in my tent. I was a bit tired, I'd had a lot of sun today, so lying there, closing my eyes, you know, hand down my trousers, just, you know, readjusting, only readjusting, and anyway, just dozing off, and then suddenly I wake up and there's a guy squatting down in front of my tent, in the opening of my tent, cigarette in my tent, like, you know, help yourself, mate. So a bit of a rude awakening, really. And he said, you know, come with me. He said this in Russian. So I was like, you know, a bit taken aback, but I thought I'm going to be a sociable guy. So I went to join them. It was very, very hospitable of them, very kind, very nice. I'm not one to criticise that at all. So they introduced me, and these guys, you know, pretty rough and ready Russians. I've been here for 6 months now, and I can kind of tell who's who and who's like working class, who's middle class, who's upper class. These guys were most definitely, probably, you know, towards the end, the lower end of the social strata. And a few vodkas later, I feel terrible actually. I don't want to criticise these guys. One of them pulls out a gun. This is not an exaggeration. And everything was happening in Russian, and my Russian is reasonable at times, but I didn't understand anything that these guys were saying. He pulls out a gun and he starts gesturing towards my tent and saying, like, Kong Bang. And I said, "Я не верю," in по-русски, which means, in Russian, which means, I don't believe you. Because I thought he was, you know, and he took this quite personally, that I didn't believe him, that he had a gun. And from then on, the situation went a little bit downhill, to be honest with you. He got his gun out, he started waving it around, passing it around the table, told me he had a Kalashnikov in his car. By this time he'd had about 15 little shots of vodka. I'm looking round because they're over there. Secondly, I told you about army clothes that I bought. I bought this blue and white Russian Spetsnaz t-shirt, which is what the paratroopers here wear. And this guy was basically telling me that he was in Chechnya for 3 years, and he took it as a big insult I was wearing it, which is fair enough, really. I mean, I must admit, I did have reservations about wearing clothes like that. He basically told me that I shouldn't wear it, that it's offensive if you haven't been in the Russian army, it's offensive to wear Russian military clothes, which, to be honest with you, I kind of agree with. But it was a bit of a hairy situation, to be honest with you. This guy has scars all over his face. He's been in Chechnya for 3 years, he's waving a gun around, and I'm there trying to... The worst thing is, which my Russian friends will appreciate, is I suggested playing a game of Mafia. Now this guy then told me that he was in the Mafia, and that he took that quite offensively as well. So basically I've made my excuses. I went back to my tent. The guy told me I had 20 minutes to relax, and I had to come back. So if I'm basically, if they find my camera in a couple of weeks, I'll be in the River Katun being fished out with a bullet hole in my head. Then you know who did it. But no, I shouldn't criticise really. They're really nice people. Gave me some borscht. You know, it's a good experience. Any experience is a good experience. So yeah, still alive, a bit wiser. I'm I'm now aware that wearing Russian paratroop t-shirts is not a good idea if you haven't been in the Russian paratroop, which I can appreciate. Okay guys, spokojnej nocy, which means good night, and I shall see you soon. Bye-bye.